Hey. Welcome, Chronicles of Rohn in the year. Hey, and the infamous words of Barbara Walters, this is 2020. We are in a new decade, you guys. Happy New Year. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hey, and get yourselves ready for another year of exciting shows, inflammatory shows, and shows to where you know me, I'm not the most, I don't give a shit. So that's how we do it. Now, tonight's show, I'm gonna just do it. Tonight's topic is called Let's Talk About Weed. Let's talk about weed, man, weed. Now, when this year, marijuana has become legal here in the state of Illinois as of January 1. And you should have seen the people lining up. I kid you not, they were lining up at weed dispensaries like they were going to a Luther Vandross concert. Now that's for some of y'all who are old school. Okay, and I say Luther Vandross because that dude, he was the hottest dude. Or lining up for Michael Jackson concert, not tickets, but you're lining up to go into the concert. That's how long. I mean, the line stretched out the door, up the block, up the street, and around the block 2 times. Okay. Now, with that being said, it's a couple of things that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the fact that the legalization. I'm going to talk about the fact that it's now decriminalized. I'm going to talk about the fact that there are people who are able to get their records expunged, and the fact that the governor himself actually pardoned and expunged over 11,000 individuals' records. Okay. Now, let's start with the legalization of it. That was to a certain degree they're doing what they did with alcohol, and actually in actuality, the legalization of weed went into effect January 1 of 2020, which was exactly 100 years to the day that prohibition began on alcohol. Alcohol was illegal January 1, 1920. How the tides have turned. Okay, so basically, and I've been a proponent of actually legalizing marijuana because one, it treat it like cigarettes. You tax the hell out of it, make money. Okay, in just one day, the city of Chicago raked in from the weed dispensaries, raked in $5.4 million. The next day, 4.9. As of last count, they're at $11.7 million. And this is just day 6 of the new year, of the next decade. 11 almost $11.5 million. Okay. If you now now moving to the part about the dispensaries, now there are certain guidelines, okay, that you have to, because now you are a licensed individual to sell this product. Okay, keyword to sell this. Now, not only that, but you have to have a license to do it. Have to have a license. Also, you have to have medical clearance now to do this. Medical clearance. Now I'm gonna tell you who's really crying and boo-hooing and bitching about it. Your drug dealer. Because guess what? Now they can't get their hands on it. They can't. Because since it's legalization, what happens now? There's no profitability for him. No more of these corner boys standing out on, no more of these knucklehead Negroes standing out on the corner selling dime bags of weed. No more of that. Because there's no profitability. You can't make any money. There's no more there. And then also too, it cuts down, especially in the Black community, it also helps eliminate an element of to kind of stem the tide of crime. Stem the tide. Now, just a sidebar for a moment. That that's not saying that these individuals are not going to find another way to kind of circumvent the drug trade, because these knuckleheads, there's still cocaine, there's still heroin, there's still meth, there is still fentanyl, there's still other angles that they. But now what happens is that all of those drugs I just mentioned, now you're getting federal time. You're not getting state time for this. This is federal time. I know there's a lot of people out there that, when they talk about, the legalization, no, they shouldn't do that. Yes, they should. Yes, they should. Because here's why. Because of the margin of individuals who are being tried and convicted, opposed to the Europeans. And see, I get to see, and now, and my new word this year, instead of saying white people, it's going to be Europeans, because that's exactly where they're from and who they are. The Europeans. Now, what has happened is that the population, because there were a lot of people who were in jail, in Cook County Jail, on drug charges, getting caught with a few dime bags here, a few dime bags there. Now, by it being legal, you can I believe that you can have up to 30 ounces, and that's for personal consumption. You can be in possession of 30 ounces. Now, my man, it may not be correct. I believe that's what it was, 30 ounces. But the other thing, you cannot. This is also going to be treated as though you as a DUI. Also, if you are caught under the influence while operating a motor vehicle. Very simply put, it makes it not only now. Even though an officer can he can still pull you over if he detects the smell of marijuana coming from your car and write you a ticket. And when it's not, it's not, and it still falls up under driving under the influence. They're still treating it this way. But at the same time, it's still in this infancy stage of how to not only control it, but um, how to delegate when it becomes dangerous, or becomes a crime, or becomes when it becomes dangerous. Well, it's not rocket science. You treat this the same way you would treat a person who is driving under the influence of alcohol. It's the same thing. Now, it also kind of opens up the door, so where if an individual is involved in a traffic accident, and they want to take this individual to the hospital and draw blood, they can legally do this now to find out. Also, here's the other. Now, even though it's legal here in the state of Illinois and a few other states, you know, Colorado became the first state to actually legalize marijuana, and they're having a booming time. I mean, they're making so much money out there. They're having right now. We're experiencing, the state of Illinois is experiencing the same thing Colorado experienced when it first went legal, the shortage. Now, believe it or not, there is a lot of weed dispensaries had to shut down, had to close today, because there was a shortage of marijuana. A shortage, if you can believe that. A shortage. That's like going to your local liquor store and they've run out of your favorite booze. Like, wow, because everybody's buying it, and because basically it's ready. It's ready. You can have it. This is what you can do. Now, the other side about this is that now that it's legal, it's now it's this is something that now a lot of us a lot of people as blacks, now it's no longer criminalized. And once we get into that part, and when it was treated as a crime and being criminalized, there were more of us behind bars than any race of people. And that was and they begin to see that this was very disproportionate, and a lot of individuals who were sitting in jail couldn't get out because they couldn't make bond, because they were what they would call looking at the number of convictions for drug possession, possession. So what they did is that they kept what they would do is called enhancement of the crime. So okay, this person has two convictions. So what we're going to do is that once they enhance it, it's, instead of it going from say a 1 to 3, it elevates to a 2 to 5. Then he has another one that goes from a 2 to 5, then they elevate to a 4 to 10, and it just continued to grow. And this was a level of this was disproportionate. This was just for now. We're on the other side of that ledger to where now it's no longer criminalized. And it's the smart thing. It's the smart thing for the state to do. It's the smart thing. Now I have to, and giving credit to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to actually to really take the lead and saying that we need to change we need to change how drug cases are prosecuted by just going ahead and legalizing it, which was the smart thing to do. Okay, so the state's attorney's office, they get 1 point from me because I'm very critical of them. They get 1 point, ding, 1 point. But at the same time, the adverse effect is that um it winds up dipping into the pockets of your local drug dealer. It winds up because he can no longer, he or she or they just can't go out and just purchase it. You have to be licensed. And not only that, but you have to get a license from the city in order to be a distributor of this particular drug. Now, here's the backside of that. Here's the flip. In the event that you say that you are you get into this, if you have a FOID card, or for those who don't know, a FOID card is a firearms owner's identification card, which means that's basically a license to have to own a firearm. But if you are in the dispensary, if this is one of the things that you have, you can no longer have a FOID card. You can't have it. And the reason being, now here's the trick. Here is the trick. Marijuana is still illegal on a federal level. Federal. Doesn't matter what the state says. Federally, it's still illegal. So that means that basically, when you have your FOID card, that means that you cannot indulge in any type of illegal activity or be in possession of. Being in possession of marijuana is a legal activity, so that automatically voids your FOID card. Here's the other thing. The fact that weed is still illegal at a federal level, that means that most jobs, and most jobs, or if you have, this is a good one for those individuals who are Section 8 recipients. I need for you to listen very, very, very carefully to what I'm going to tell you. If you're an individual, okay, and going to the job, if your job has zero tolerance policy, you can be terminated for having marijuana in your system. Because once again, marijuana is illegal on a federal level. Your job can't enforce that. If you have a state job, you cannot be an owner of a cannabis dispensary. You have any type of state job, you can't own one. You can't be a part of it. Zip, zero, nada. Because what? Say it again. It's illegal. Marijuana is illegal federally. Who are Section 8 recipients? Now, a lot of you should fully understand the guidelines and rules and regulations that Section 8 sets before you, and you are obligated to abide by that. That means that you cannot, even if you are a weed smoker, you cannot smoke weed in if you are renting an apartment or you're renting a home. You cannot smoke weed in there because it violates your contract. They can immediately terminate your contract with Section 8 instantly. Wait, not only that, but anyone who may be in your home, whether it's your spouse or your teenage child or adult child, for some of you who yeah, you would, let's be real. It's some of you individuals still got adult children living at home. That don't make no it makes no damn sense to me, but it is what it is. But what they're doing is that they're making you responsible, holding you accountable. This is how this works. There's an upside and then there's a downside to where we are with legalization of marijuana. Now going back to the portion of your going back to the job portion, in the event that you happen to be random select to do a drug test. Now the misconception is that people say, well, we can take this. You can take this herbal oil, or you can drink this certain tea, or whatever. THC is going to remain in your system for upwards to 30 days. Upwards to 30 days. You have to understand how this works. You have to understand. So if your job, and then the thing about that, if you have a job that you have and you're part of a union, or you can go to HR, there's nothing they can do. They can't save you from that, because it still falls up under, when you signed on that dotted line, you agreed that you would not indulge in this, that that the job has a zero tolerance policy. Zero tolerance. So what that does is that forces people to govern themselves accordingly. Govern themselves accordingly, making you responsible. Making you responsible. Now, don't get me wrong. See, I'm not, and I don't smoke. I don't smoke weed. I can't. Truth be told, I can't stand the smell of weed. And if and it's just well, that's the best word I can put. I just can't stand the smell of it. And truth be told, I can't even begin to think how somebody who even smokes it can put up with the smell. I just really can't. It just boggles the mind at this particular point. Now, if here's the other thing. Now, if you have people who are, say, you have a realty company, or you happen to be a person renting a home to someone, these are certain things that you can put in your lease agreements. That, hey, we're not gonna. This is what we're gonna do. Hey, no smoking of this, or this. We're not gonna have this. This is an easier way to actually start rooting out certain people and terminating contracts. Because why? Marijuana is still illegal on a federal level. Because I'm gonna tell you and be truthful. The federal government is never, if you live to be 100, they're never going to legalize marijuana across the country. They're never going to do it, ever. Don't think that, and don't think it's going to happen. Now the other thing that's subject to happen now. You can get ready to hear a lot of civil cases going. A lot of people going to civil court, and a lot of civil cases, because they believe one thing instead of understanding what the actual law is stating. You're gonna get a person who lost their job because, they were sitting at home and they were doing a dub, and then they went to work the next day and they got random tests and they were fired. This individual is going to try and take their job to court and say, well, if it's legal and I'm smoking it in my home, how does that affect my job? Once again, it depends on the job. The job, and most jobs now have a zero tolerance policy. Zero tolerance policy. And not to monopolize the entire conversation, but we are, hey, the phone lines are open. If you have a comment or you want to join in this topic, give me a call here at the studio at 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953. Let's talk about weed is our topic. Now, we getting into that. The once we get one, now we're through this door. And so now, with it still being in its infancy with the legalization, still being at its infancy stage, and we're taking these little baby steps, these little baby steps, to a certain degree, the benefit the it's somewhat beneficial to a certain degree. Okay, the city made $11 million. Now the biggest question is, where is that money going to go? How do you allocate that money to go to wherever it needs to go to? Is it going to go to providing better schools for our children? Is it going to go towards infrastructure? Is it going to go to healthcare? How do you figure out where this money goes, and actually who's minding the store on making sure that the money is going to where it's supposed to be going? How do we do that? And at the same time, how is the manufacturing? And I'm talking about the people who are actually growing the weed. Okay, how are they going to keep up with the demand? And the funny part about that too, and the funny part about that, there were more Europeans in line than there were black people. I kid you not. There were more Europeans lining up to get licenses. See, now it all comes out in the wash. Now it all comes out. Now it all comes out in the wash. This is where we're at. So what happens now is that now we have this going, and with the surprisingly shortage of marijuana that these dispensaries are experiencing. They have to figure out how to offset this. What do we do? How do you keep up? How do you keep up with the demand? How do you do that? That is going to be their big question. How do they keep up with the demand? I mean, that would be my question. How do you do it? I mean, do you make a phone order and you ask the guy, how much weed do you got? How much can you sell me? How much can you bring over? Because you got people out the door, up the block, and around the corner, and it's wrapping around twice. Wrapping around twice. Now with and yeah, this is where we're at. Now the other part is that how do you keep up with the demand for people who actually use marijuana for medicinal purposes or medical reasons? How do you keep up with that? How do you do that? That's one of the things that they have to look at. One of the other things that was really puzzling, I won't say puzzling, that's the wrong word, that I was not surprised. They actually are now putting on the market THC infused gummies. THC infused gummies. Basically, what that is, that's the extract from the marijuana that is now being mixed with the little gummies. Okay, so you can eat those and get high, and and keep it moving. Keep it moving. But my big, just me personally, I'm just trying to understand what is the excitement. What is the excitement? What is the thrill of being high? Being you're letting your mind go to another place to where you are completely oblivious to any and everything around you. I'm not understanding. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not condemning nobody. Hey, if you a weed head, you that's what you do. Hey, more power to you. That's just not my bag. I drink. I ain't gonna lie to nobody. I drink. But when I drink, I'm not drinking to a point where I become what they saw, and where they become what's the word I'm looking for? A violent becoming drunk, or becoming a violent drunk, or one of those mofos that just continue when they get you ever have people that when they get drunk, they just never seem to stop talking. It seemed like the more they drink, and then all of a sudden, the volume button goes up and the off switch is stuck in the on position. The switch is stuck in the on position, and that's sometimes with people who smoke weed. Now the thing about this is that with weed is that you've never ever, to my recollection, ever heard in the history of people smoking weed of anybody ever dying from smoking too much weed. Ever, ever. I mean, they're gonna be hungry as shit. Don't let them. That's the kind of people you don't let them come to your house because they're gonna eat you out of house. They gonna eat everything up in your house. They just gonna be hungry and just eating everything. That's what's gonna happen. That's exactly what's gonna happen. But we're gonna take us a little break here on iHeart Radio, the Chronicles of Ron. We are talking about weed. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, aka the Batman. We will be right back.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
These niggas think it ain't crazy out here. Now bounce. Y'all gotta pardon me tonight. I feel like a superhero up in here. When it's been, they gotta hit him, gotta get him like new shit. They call me Batman, cause the black mask is on my face. Gun up on my waist, it ain't suited in them black case. I'm looking for some hood rats that I take to the back cave. Y'all lame like blank man, while I'm steady serving them like pistol on my utility belt. Like, yeah, I keep my identity to myself. Like, you don't want me to grab that thing from the shelf. Like, I call them Rob, it's my only help, right? Okay. Girls hit my bat signal when they know that I'm coming. I say I ain't here for nothing, now give me that cat woman. As soon as we started stomach pumping, somebody had started thumping. She jumped up and caught her breath like, did you hear something? As soon as I get near to ya, you want me to get into ya. I ain't trying to tease, I'm play with your mind like the Riddler. Girl, I'm really feeling ya, but you're acting two-faced. Her body smell fresh, but her breath needs some toothpaste. Nah, I ain't even go play with her, I'm giving to her all the way straight. Wait, she said quit playing. What you think I'm a joker? About a wondery freaking. By the end of the night it's over. This girl with poison ivy, but I'ma have to give her a chance. Cause this a one night stand, but I'ma have bigger plans. Jump from top to roof like do the window like Batman, you goof, right? Hit the floor, then I duck roll shoot like a uppercut. Gotta leave him sack a tooth, right? Look, this what I do. Girl, I break backs, bang. She hit me on the dark night for a late stain. By the end of the night, I don't remember her name. My alias is Alias, not Bruce Wayne. She said she got a man and he'll be home soon for dinner. And by that time, I need to be out like a ninja. She say his heart's cold like a Chicago winter. His friends call him Freeze, but I just call him Victor. And I'm like, shh. Then she say he must get home a little quicker. I'm like, damn, where's the window? And pass me all my belongings. Do yourself a favor, chick. Lose all my info. Down the fire escape to the black mobile. My cologne in the air. Soon as he knew that I was there, he screamed. Watch me get up out that jam like I make that thing go blam like all the women.
Hey, and welcome back to iHeart Intellectual Radio, the Chronicles of Ron. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, aka the Batman. I want to give a shout out to my man over there, Captain Hooks. Not to let you know that I forgot about you, but happy New Year, brother. Captain Hooks. Hey, get over there to 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 15922 South Kedzie and Markham. Get your behind over there and get some of that great food, some fish, chicken, shrimp, and they have some wonderful sides. I mean, wonderful sides, kill for. Yes. All right, but back to the show. Hey, we are talking with this. Let's talk about weed. Let's talk about weed. Now, when J.B. Pritzker, our governor here in Illinois, when he took office, and I have to, once again, I have to, you get some things you have to give credit where credit is due. You have to. regardless to what you might think about them or what your political affiliation is or what. Doesn't matter. But as my grandmother would say, right is right and wrong is wrong. And even to a point, even the devil tells the truth. And as a kid, when she said that, you kind of looked at it with the crazy eye, like, well, what the hell? But anyway, as I got older, I began to understand it because now I'm in the position where she once was. But giving credit where credit is due, J.B. Pritzker and his office exonerated and expunged and pardoned over 11,000 individuals, cleared their records. Now, when we're talking about now here, this is the beneficial part. This is the beneficial part of the legalization of marijuana. J.B. Pritzker and also not to and I've been riding Kim Fox like riding her like a mule on a July day plowing a field, but have to give credit where credit is due. She also exonerated 2,500 individuals, cleared their records. So that's a total. So basically, that's like 13, 14,000 people who's had their records cleared of possession of drugs. Now, what that does when they did this, see the other part too is that by being so disproportional that people had drug convictions in their background, it made it harder for them to become productive citizens of society. Long story short, and I'm gonna just dummy it down, because I still got people out there with the halos around their head. It makes it easier for them to gain employment. Makes it a lot easier for them to do that. Say that you have a person who was 17 years old. He got caught with a couple of joints, and he got arrested, and he had to do a little probation. Okay. Now, say 10 years later he wants to get a job at a nice at a place, and they're asking him, does he have a conviction? Okay, most people, let's be truthful. Most of us would actually lie about that, and we'll catch the hell later. But we're looking at the bigger picture. We want the job. Now what happens is that now these 11,000 people can now start applying for jobs, can now be accepted in certain places to where they can work, because now they no longer have this over their head. This is the good part about the legalization. This is the other good part about, I should say, of the legalization of marijuana, because now it completely eliminates anything in your back. If this is the now, mind you, now, if this is the only thing that you had in your background, it kind of paves the way for that. It truly, truly does pave the way for that. Say you had an individual who wanted to be a school bus driver or an EMT or ambulance driver. This clears the way. And see, what happens is that when you clear the way, when you clear the way for people to get back into the workforce, it helps drive the economy. It helps drives it drives the dollar signs up, because you have people working, and also it helps drive down the number of unemployment because you got people working. How many of you out there, and let's be truthful, how many of you out there got a drug conviction in your background for weed? And don't sit there and lie, because I know some of you do. Ain't no shame in it. But at the end of the day, and knowing what this is, and then you get yourself in a position to where you can have this removed from your background, to where now you can breathe a little better, especially for a lot of black people, who they can breathe a lot better, to where they can get that job. They can, now you can get that job at Popeyes or Burger King, or you can get that job at one of the some corporate building in downtown Chicago, or or even better, you can get that federal job. Say you're working, the city, that working for working for CTA or PACE or working for the railroad, Metro or Amtrak, something like that. That opens up the door for a lot of things to happen and for a lot of people to get back on their feet. The one of the things, and the CTA, one of the programs that CTA had offered, they offered it's called a second chance program, which means that they were offering jobs to ex offenders. A lot of this will help them a lot. This legalization and clearing the way, clearing the record, will help them get their foot in the door that they would not, or that they not would not otherwise be able to do. So there is some positive coming out of that. There is some good coming out of that. There really is. It's like, like I said before, a lot of this is just baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, because they're still trying to iron out the little wrinkles of this adventure, because that's really what it is. It's not an endeavor, it's an adventure. This is really what it is. Truth be told, this is really what it is. Now, but make no mistake, people, make no mistake. These jobs that I just mentioned, they still, most majority of them still have a zero tolerance policy. You have to, you have to remember that. Keep that, file that in the front of your mind, put that in the front of your head, so you got a full understanding, you got full knowledge that, hey, this is what this is, but I have to steer clear of this if I want to continue to keep this job, if I still want to do this. Point blank, period. Zip, zero, nada. This is how it's working. I mean, it's a balancing act. It's a juggling act. It's seeing what the scale will kind of do or turn out, to see what's going to happen. Truth be told. Truth be told. Now, as far as the justice system and legalization, what this also does is that this unclogs the maelstrom of the courts, and it unclogs it, so you're not some judge who his docket is not clogged with petty drug cases. This also frees up attorneys, and I'm referencing uh, prosecutors or state's attorneys and public defenders to focus on more serious crimes. Also, with the legalization too, this also gives them a little bit more resources, a little bit more money to actually work in the best interest of justice. Work in the best interest of justice. See, what happens now is that now they can focus on the bigger fish, those individuals that are out there truly committing crimes, that are truly selling hell of a lot of dope. And I'm talking dope. I'm talking bricks of cocaine. I'm talking about bags of heroin and fentanyl. I'm talking about bags of crystal meth. Also, this also channels a little bit more money to where they can fight, they work on prosecuting individuals who are committing violent crimes with firearms. This kind of, see, you want to take this what we once considered bad and turn it around for something good. Take that money that you're getting and put it back into making the system work the way it was designed, the way it's supposed to. And this is what needs to be done, and this is what I'm hoping that they're going in the direction. Hopefully, because if you get an individual that's out here and um, he's caught with cocaine, or he's caught with heroin, crystal meth, fentanyl. Okay, now these individuals that you definitely need to get off the street, lock them away. You have the money to do it now because these particular drugs are killing people. Not to mention, this also helps with the opioid epidemic, which was actually, and it was more Europeans ODing on opioids. You want to do something? These are the drugs that you would be that you should be focusing on. We no, I mean, you know, it's a plan. It's a plan that that somebody way back when decide, oh, this might be a good idea if I roll. Yeah, hey, let me see. Oh, it smells good. Let me see what happens if I put it in some rolling paper, roll it up in some tobacco, and see what happens. Let me see what happens. You're just gonna be high as hell. That's all. Lay down and go to sleep somewhere with your eyes open, and then you get up and now you're gonna eat up everything and you're gonna eat up everything in sight. Everything. Every single thing. But the good that comes from this is that it gives people an opportunity to hit the reset button in their lives when they have been possibly held down or held back or felt discouraged or felt that there was no hope in sight that ever they would ever get this particular job that they set their mind to or wanted. This opens that door for them. And I must admit, the state did agree. They did a great by by legalizing it and keeping and in Pritzker keeping with his word that when this does become legal, that he is going to wipe clean. Basically, now understand something. He wiped it clean. It means you get a second chance, and a second chance means don't mess up. Don't mess up by doing something other than, and then you're right back where you started. You're right back where you started. Now the other side, now this is a sidebar note. Now, what they're also doing with a lot of applications too, they are no longer uh putting the question, have you ever been convicted of a felony on applications. They're doing away with that because once again, it is culturally biased and it's discriminatory. And most people are going to lie about it. No matter what it is, they're going to lie about it because they want the job. They need a job, I should say. Let me rephrase that. They need the job. And then you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to do what you have to do to try and get it, which is if you're getting rid, if you're eliminating that question and you have legalized this kind of widens the stream of opportunities, widens the stream of possibilities. It widens it. Definitely does. Definitely it does that. But at the same time, and I can't emphasize this enough, remember people that marijuana is still illegal on a federal level. Still illegal. Even to a point to where they allow you to have so much on your person. But once you supersede that amount, now they still have to figure out, how do we prosecute? How do we do this? This is the big this is the $64,000 question. It's a giant question mark on somebody's desk. Okay, what if we run across somebody who has a truckload who we stopped them and they got a van full of weed? How do we prosecute them? Well, you would prosecute them like you would prosecute any drug dealer. Simple. That's what you would do. He has more than the amount that he is allowed to have for personal consumption. Also, is he a licensed cannabis operator? Is he licensed? Very simple. It's a relatively easy fix. You look at this and you apply the law. You apply the law accordingly, and you go from there. That's really what it is. How you do it. That's basically what you're gonna do. And one of the things that I'm looking at this closely. And then we're into this is day 6. This also, and it appears to me, this also looks like that is stemming a lot of gang conflict, a lot of this, because really haven't heard too much. And this is only the 6th day into January of 2020. Really have not heard a lot of feuding, where a lot of information in the news is saying you still have gangs warring about a certain block or this, that, and the other. Because now, yeah, a lot of them, that's pretty much a lot of them, what they were selling was a lot of weed, and weed. But now that they can't get their hands on it anymore like they used to, that's gone away. But you have to realize, we got to remember now, we haven't got to April, May. We haven't got to the summer yet. Let's see what that's going to be like. I would be highly surprised, and you got to, and to get, to surprise me, to get something, surprise, to get something by me, you got to get up awfully early. And if that happens, I would be surprised if the gang conflict actually started to dwindle to a point where you're not hearing about it as much. You really not. Because here's the thing: some of these peanut heads, some of these peanut head bastards, they can't get they really can't get their hands on real dope. They can't. Half of them wouldn't even know what to do with it. They can't. Half of them can't get their hands on cocaine, heroin, crystal meth, fentanyl. They can't. It's too expensive. It's too expensive, and and those particular drugs will get you killed if you mess up somebody's money. We're not talking about, years, just if not just last month. We're not talking about somebody messed up, you know, 100, 200, 300, maybe even $500 on some weed. You can kind of manipulate that, but you can't manipulate that big the real drug trade. You just can't. It's kind of difficult to do because somebody's got to add you copping, somebody's got to pay for it, somebody's got to make this money reappear. Not only do you have to give the money back, but you got to give it back with the juice that comes with it. Depends on how much juice they're charging per on the dollar. That depends. That depends. It really, really does. But I see the helicopter in the distance, and the lights are flashing, which means that is all the time we have here for on iHeart Intellectual Radio, the Chronicles of Rohn. We were talking about weed, talking about that, and I know some of y'all probably just sitting there, just yeah, man, yeah, whatever, yeah, whatever. But anyway, I hope y'all grab something out of that. But be smart about this, though. Be smart about this. If you are one of those individuals who has a conviction in your background and when I say, let me be more specific. If you have a marijuana conviction in your background, it would be advisable for you to to find out how you can get that expunged. You can go to the library and pull it up. You can pull it up. You can Google it. You can go to the library. You can talk to the state's attorney to find out to do that. Go to the county bill. Go to whatever county building, wherever county you live in. Go to the county building and ask them, how do I get this expunged because of whatever. But it's going to help you out in the long run, and it's going to be more beneficial. I would advise you that if you have that, please, by all means, do it, because this is the golden opportunity for a lot of Black people to get their lives back on track due to the disproportionate prosecution of drugs in the Black community. So a shout out to my man Alex, 85th for Captain Hooks, to my man 85th in Cottage Grove, 103rd in King Drive, and 159th in Kedzie in Markham. And in closing, not my monkey, not my circus. I'm headed to the Batmobile. And I will see you all in 2 weeks.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.